afternoon, whenever you're listening to this, welcome to the internet's most sophisticated wrestling podcast, discussing the weekly aspects of it all, right here on
The Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast.
All right, there we go. A little opening intro music, and welcome to the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast. And do we have a special one for you? We have the captain Chuckles is with us. Christopher's here with you. And who's this guy? Is that Dashing Chris Bey? What?
Heck yeah.
What is that guy doing here? Welcome to the podcast, Dashing Chris Bey.
Hey, thanks. I think I just spawned right in here. I don't even know how I got here. You made me nervous when you said that. I'm like, wait, how did I get here?
He just appeared.
Yeah, Mysterio's oldest entrance. I'm just popping through the thing, just showing up. I don't know.
Popping through the stage.
So if anybody doesn't know, Dashing Chris Bey with Impact Wrestling, he's been just blowing up right now everywhere. Doing some excellent finessing out there, as I must say. It's something from what I've seen on the internet, and excellent finessing on television as well. So we appreciate you joining us today and taking some time out of this crazy times of the world right now to have a conversation with us. So
yeah, man,
we figured we'd sit and have some fun.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's give the people something to see, something to listen to, something to have right now. Let's give them some cool content.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we wanted to start kind of just giving the people some background. So who is Chris Bey? You know, we know you you grew up in Virginia. So what was it like growing up in Virginia? What was little Chris Bey like?
Little Chris Bey was very energetic. He was very he's just one of those kids who was very expressive. Like, I was never really afraid to express myself and until it got to a certain age where it's not that I was afraid of it, but I just avoided as much expression because where I'm from, in the specific area, people kind of judge you for being different. And I know we've all dealt with that in our different ways growing up. So it's not a far from relatable story, but a lot of people did think it was pretty funny that I wanted to be a pro wrestler or that I wanted to be a WWE superstar or whatever. Like, a lot of people did think it was funny. So it got to a point where at a certain grade, I kind of stopped talking about it as much, almost making it seem like it didn't exist anymore and that I was going to do other things, but I always knew I was going to wrestle. It's just for the time being, I wanted to make sure that I had some sort of a social status back there. But of course, as we all grow up and realize that high school and all that stuff doesn't matter.
Definitely not.
It's just what it was for me back then, you know? So like, it became one of those things that I think it helped fuel the fire even more. The fact that it was kind of my forbidden thing or my secret that I was just waiting to explode, because I knew there was a legion of people who felt the same way I felt. There was that one time a year where WWE would come to the Verizon Center or the Capital One Arena now in DC, and that was my one time a year to freak out and, you know, be around amongst wrestling fans and people who share the same interest. But other than that, the other 364, it was just me just no selling it, basically, for lack of a better word.
So you mentioned, you know, when WWE came to town, do you have any like huge memories of going and seeing them live and anything that maybe made you fall in love with wrestling?
I was already locked in, bro. There was nothing that that would ever top this for me. You know, I used to say when I was younger that and when I say younger, because, you know, people make the joke, oh, you're 24, you're still young. When I say younger, I'm thinking at this point like maybe 8 or 9, but I remember I was telling people that I was going to be either a professional wrestler, a male model, or the president of the United States, the first black president. And then Obama came around.
So that was done.
Messed it all up.
Yeah.
We X'd that one out. and the male model thing, I realized I was kind of ugly. So I was like, all right, well, we could get there, but we have to take another route to get there. So it's one of those things. But nah, man, like the way everything all came back full circle and comes back around is what really impresses me the most out of all of this stuff, you know?
Yeah, true.
Did you, growing up, going to some of those early, WWE events, did you have a favorite wrestler? Like who was the guy that you were like, man, I want to be so and so?
So it's cool because I feel like uh, fate and signs are so real. You know, a lot of people don't believe in that type of stuff. But the very first show I went to was a Monday Night Raw in 2004. Edge was the Intercontinental Champion. He had just won the title from Orton at Vengeance, and this was their official rematch. At the time, 8 years old, my two favorite wrestlers were Edge and Randy Orton. So to be at this my first live event, it's a Monday Night Raw. The main event's for the Intercontinental Championship, and it's these two guys who happen to also be my favorite wrestlers. You know, like that was something I didn't ignore. And then the next show I went to was SummerSlam '05, which had Randy Orton versus Undertaker, the rematch from Mania. And I remember watching WrestleMania, ordering it, and being certain that Randy Orton was going to beat the Undertaker, and he didn't. And this SummerSlam was like that. It was like the chance of redemption for me and my fandom of just telling everyone like, yeah, no, Randy Orton's the best. Like he's gonna beat the Undertaker. So my dad, that was the first event I went to with my dad, and he was like marking for the Undertaker. So it was like a cool father-son thing where I was just like, nah, he's gonna beat him. And then, the drunk guy gets in the ring and everything gets real awkward, and then Orton hits the RKO, and it turns out it's Orton's pops, Cowboy Bob.
Cowboy
And then
Bob.
it's like, now I'm in my dad's face, like, I told you, and it was his dad who helped him, like, like stuff like that. That's just moments like those, getting to see my favorites so many times. I wanted to be everybody, and it got to the point where because those guys were my favorite, but overall I just wanted to be a part of it. So it got to a point where the last time I went to a show, really, the one that I really call my last one, even though maybe 2 years later I took the girl I was dating at the time to a show, and that would technically be my last one until further notice. But I remember it was the Raw before WrestleMania 30. The whole Daniel Bryan thing was hot, and I was a senior in high school, and I got just one ticket because at the time my dad was going through his like chemotherapy and stuff for his cancer. So he didn't have the strength or patience or time to sit down through the show with me. So we got the one ticket, and here I was sitting there watching this show alone. And I remember as it got to the end, the more and more it got towards the end of the show, the less I was excited, the less I was participating. And it wasn't because of the product, it was just because I was physically getting ill, because all I wanted was to be a part of it. And I was just tired of watching. And I just remember that I'll never forget that type of feeling I had that night, on that night, because here's my one chance a year that I look forward to every year. But now here I am, like, can't wait now for it to be over. As I'm sitting there just thinking, like, I gotta get to this. Like, I have to stop sitting on this side. I gotta get to this. Like, I gotta get in there. So to answer your question in the longest way possible, because I have a habit of doing that.
Don't worry. One of the guys on our podcast does the exact same thing. So
yeah, we didn't allow him on for that specific
we
reason.
were not
It
letting him
never
on
got
here.
done.
You might have not had 2 words in if he was here.
Good. Hey, it would have made my job a lot easier, I guess. Yeah, yeah. But I never really saw anyone. Because I got to see my favorites, and then even in that era of SummerSlam, Batista being from DC, hometown hero, always being the world champion whenever they come to town. It was just so much to believe in. Rey Mysterio being around and being a smaller guy, and me being a smaller guy as a kid, but also knowing that I probably wasn't going to get too big because my family just isn't very big. So I just understand genetics, and I understand, things can happen, but it didn't seem like things were going to ever happen for me in that aspect, which didn't disappoint me. But I knew that it was time to just look at stuff more realistic. So as I did get older, it helped that the business was changing and evolving, and people more my size was starting to do it, and it was helping make it still seem as more achievable, more possible. But nah, man, like I just wanted to be a part of it, bro. I loved seeing my favorites. I love seeing people who I just know so much about, because everything else I don't know a lot about. Like I never paid attention in school. I'm not a big movie guy. Like I can't tell you a lot about a lot of things other than wrestling. So that was just whenever I got that once a year opportunity to go there, it was my paradise.
Yeah, I completely. I mean, I think myself and Chris and everybody else who talks on the podcast would say the same thing. It's a whole nother level of going to a live show and like seeing the guys that you have watched on a small TV or wherever you're watching, and then to see them live and in person and up close, depending on where you are and everything. I mean, it just it kind of solidifies that love and that passion for you know what you've been watching for so long.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so
100%.
it's pretty awesome. So you grew up on the East Coast, and then you moved out, and now you're out over in Vegas.
Vegas, yes, indeed.
So what brought you out there? Do you like it out there? Is it way different than Virginia? Do you love the heat? Is that dry heat really better than that humidity?
These are the real questions now.
Right?
Now we're cooking, literally. Yeah, you're talking about the heat. I'm getting hot. Uh, Man, once again, signs, right? So a lot of these were in hindsight too, as I got through the past almost 4 years living here, and I've seen that more things have pushed me here than I realized. But growing up, I never was really like, oh, I'm gonna move away from home and do this. I always was gonna wrestle though, so of course those worlds have to coexist with the traveling aspect. You're gonna have to go somewhere. I didn't go a lot of places growing up, maybe Myrtle Beach once, or Ocean City, Maryland a handful of times, or what's in Florida? Is it Disneyland or
World.
Disney World.
Yeah, Disney World once when I was a kid. Um, but other than that, never really went a lot of places. So for my 20th birthday, I had the idea to come to Vegas because a friend of mine had moved out here. Two of my friends actually from high school. So for my 20th birthday, I wanted to take a trip. So I came here. And this was around the time when I said I was going to wrestle. So from 18 till this point, I was still saving up money, doing my research on schools and procrastinating, because that's what we all are the best at, procrastinating. So as I'm doing my procrastinating and my researching, I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to go to Vegas because got friends over there. It's a thing. And then yeah, people always talk about going to Vegas, and I've seen The Hangover. I've seen my uncle who passed away a year ago. God rest his soul. He moved out here maybe 10 to 15 years ago. So I was like, okay, well, I have an uncle there too. Like clearly things are there, so I'm
Yep.
gonna go there. So I went for my birthday, and my birthday is February 13th. I get on the plane, it's 13 degrees. I get off the plane here in Vegas, it's 75 degrees.
Yep.
So
Yep.
immediately, all my life, all I've known is winters for my birthday. I'm like, hold on, the weather's different somewhere else this time around? Everything's new to me, mind you. Only thing I know about what I think I know, because once again, I did do a lot of research, and I did only pay attention to wrestling. A lot of stuff I only saw on TV or in movies. So climate is one of those things where I was just like, okay, well, that's the first thing different. And I had a handful of good days there. And on my birthday, I called my dad to talk to him, and I was telling him about uh, what I was seeing. And he didn't even know I took a trip for my birthday. So as I'm explaining to him what I'm seeing, this was the last conversation I would end up having with him. Because a month later, I got back probably a week after that. A month later, things got worse with the cancer, and it ended up being the end. So there was a long, maybe a week to 2 week process where I was either getting off work from long days of work and heading to the hospital to see him, or I was skipping work all in all and going and sitting at the hospital. And as selfish as it is, man, I'm in the room when the time comes and I'm holding his hand, and I just remember having two thoughts go through my head where it was, as selfish as they are, I can't lie about what it was, and how much this business and this passion and this vision has affected my life. Because the first things that I thought about was that, one, that I was never going to be able to have his physical touch anymore. It was just something that he would never reach out and put his hand on my shoulder, or we would never be able to embrace again. And two, he never got to see me pursue wrestling. I spent my entire life obsessing about wrestling and talking to this man about wrestling and having him buy me these tickets to these events and take me to these events. And since I graduated high school till 2 years later at this point, he hasn't seen me even try, and I didn't have a lot of conversations with him that last 2 years because of a pride thing where I was just very scared about him being disappointed in me for not pursuing. But if anyone knows my dad, and me included, that's not the type of person he would have been, and that would have never been his reaction. But it was a personal thing that kept me from enjoying his last years. And when that happened, I remember his birthday was coming up, and it was the same weekend of WrestleMania 32. So what I did was, in the funeral we scheduled for the same week. So what I did was, once again, the how much this consumes me, I bought a ticket to Connecticut to hang out with one of my best friends, Scott, who the internet world knows as Lucky Hands. He re-leathers replica belts, and he has, now that I've been in the business and made the connections and we've been able to do this, he's now made a handful of championships that I've won from FSW and Maverick Pro Wrestling. But at the time, he was just one of my best friends who, always, from text standpoint, he'd work on belts for me, and he would he was my wrestling buddy. So here I was like, man, I got to be around some good energy. I got to be around wrestling. And I'm at the funeral. The casket's getting lowered into the grave, and the first thing I'm doing is jetting to the airport to take this trip to Connecticut. So I land, and we have a good weekend watching the Hall of Fame and watching Takeover, and then Mania comes, and here we are, the first match in, and it's the Money in the Bank, and it's all these guys, for a lot of these guys, first WrestleMania, and who the fuck wins? Zack Ryder. And then what happens? His dad gets in the ring, and they have a warm embrace, and that moment ate me alive, because that was, at that moment, I was like, I will never experience this. I will never know what this feels like. And I blame myself because of how much procrastination I was doing. I blame myself because I let fear control the narrative. And as much as that moment broke me, that moment was the moment where I was like, something's got to change now. And before my mom misses it, Uh, so I went back home from that trip. And at this point, the Vegas trip had inspired. Before the Vegas trip, I went to Atlanta with the girl I was dating because her family was from Atlanta. So we went to Atlanta in December. Then we went to Vegas in February. And then I went to Connecticut in April. So I had started to travel a bit at this point. And I was just like, okay, I'm starting to see that things are different and people can go places and things exist in other places. I need to find a school now. I need to stop procrastinating. I need to find a school. And well, I was talking to my friend about it, and he was like, yeah, well, I mean, they probably got that out here. He was like, I don't know if you got to talk to him, because I found the school, FSW, but I didn't do any research. I just saw that there was a school, and I was gonna stop by it while I was in town for my birthday, but we never got around to it. So I called the school, and I got a call from Joe DeFalco, who runs Future Stars of Wrestling, and he explained to me that they have people like TJP, who just won the Cruiserweight Classic, who's training down there, and people like Kenny King from Ring of Honor, and a huge up-and-coming star that he was just singing the praises of, that they had. Some guy, I don't know if you heard of him, his name is Kevin Cross. He just wouldn't shut up about the guy. And I was just like, okay, well, he was like, yeah, we got Sen Bodhi. And then I was just like, well, this is just a list. So I was like, and he told me the cost of the school, and it was better than all the other deals I had heard. And I was like, man, okay, well, I'll probably move there. So I'll see you in a couple months. And he was like, all right, whatever. So then I started looking at like the cost of living in Las Vegas. And I was like, well, damn, it's like half of what it is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So in Virginia, so I was like, better weather, things are open 24 hours, cost of living's better, and there's wrestling over there. I was like, this might be the one. So like, I remember asking the girl I was dating, where she wanted to move, because we both knew we wanted to leave, but we didn't decide where. And I told her that it was just a lot of time that was getting wasted. Like maybe like a month went by, and she still wasn't saying anything, and it didn't seem like she was putting in that effort. So I was just like, well, this is where I've decided I'm trying to go. So if you're trying to come here, this is where I'm about to go. And I bought the one-way ticket, and I left July 4th to come out here. And August 8th, I want to say, was my first day of training at Future Stars Wrestling, August 8th, 2016. And I walk in, and there's no ring. And pretty sure there was a ring in this building before. And then this buff-ass dude in an atomic stringer named Kevin Cross comes walking in. And I'm like, that's the guy I saw in the YouTube video with the promo. He was just like, yeah, we did a show this weekend. So whenever we do shows, we move the ring. So as soon as the ring gets in, it's coming in the second. You guys can set up the ring, and we'll do promo class. And I was like, yes, first day of wrestling school, I get to set up a ring. It's exactly how I've seen it on TV. This is how it goes, right? This is the story. And the rest, that story picks up to 4 years later. Here we are. That's how I ended up in Vegas. And the compare and contrast is that when I got here, I noticed that there were so many different walks of life. Everybody was so different. People aren't making fun of each other for the way they dress or the way they talk. People are a lot more laid back. The rules are a lot less strict. And it just dawned on me that I was going to be here for a while, and not because I had to, because of wrestling, but because I wanted to. I love this place, and I don't see myself moving from here anytime soon. I do see myself living multiple places, but
Sure.
I don't see myself ever leaving here. And
it's a fun place.
It's a really
it's a
fun
beautiful place.
That's the key right there, because a lot of people, when I first moved here, how are you not gambling? How are you not this? I was like, well, first of all, I'm 20. I turned 21 a couple of months. I was like, second of all, I'm not into the idea of losing money I don't have. So it was never like, it's a Sin City, but like this city never took me for my money with the gambling or, the sex or, whatever, the alcohol. I love drinking, man. When I was like 17 to 20, I was kind of a hardcore drinker, but I still was responsible, but I was a hardcore drinker. But when I moved here, I kind of stopped drinking too, because I was just like, all right, well, as fun as that stuff was, I'm here to train now. I'm here to become a professional wrestler. Like, I don't have time to be doing this other stuff that just isn't getting me where I want to get to. And, I trained hard for 2 months straight. And after 2 months, October, I got my first match. And I swear, I just never looked back. Like, a couple short months after that, I was in the car with Sway Thompson, rolling up to Championship Wrestling from Arizona and Hollywood, and meeting people and getting, these jobber roles at 15 matches in my career for television companies and learning to work television. And here we are now, having this call.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, do you still feel like that I mean, it's tragic and it's a tough story, but it feels like it was the moment. It was that catalyst, that one moment that you can hang on to now that's going to push you probably for the rest of your career.
Yeah,
And as tough as it is to probably think about, it's almost like you needed it. It's almost like you needed that kick in the pants to be like, go get it. It's time.
100%. I've seen a lot of people in history who have dealt with major losses, and it's been their greatest demise or their greatest success story because it's all about how you're able to bounce back from it. Unfortunately, some of us don't have the mental willpower to bounce back from it, and it's bigger than just oh well, you gotta be motivated. Sometimes it's just bigger than that. The way we're wired, some people just don't have that capability, which is unfortunate. But for me, um, it was my greatest driving factor, and it was the thing that made me realize I have to do it now, and I got to do it to my fullest potential and give it my all and make the most out of it, because this time away I sacrificed a lot. Like I told you, I moved here thinking, yeah, I got an uncle who lives there, and now he's gone. And my first couple months here, another one of my uncles back home had passed, and then the year right after that was when my dad's brother had passed, and then the year after that, which was last year, was when this uncle out here has passed. So I've lost a lot of
Oh,
family out here,
On
and I've missed
tests.
out on a lot of my nieces and nephews growing up. I have nieces and nephews who didn't talk when I was away, and now when I call them, they're on YouTube watching my matches. Like this is just how long I've been gone, but it's for the better.
Yeah.
And I always remind myself that it's not for no reason. I'm here to help change the longevity of my family's future.
Truth.
definitely.
That's great. So, kid growing up on the East Coast, you make your way out to Vegas and you say you start training, you start getting some opportunities, start having some conversations. So, let's talk about 205 Live and being able to wrestle in your new hometown of Vegas. How does that come about? How did you learn about it? What are your thoughts around that?
Um, it's a very funny story.
I like funny stories.
Depends depends on your perception of funny. For sure. It's
I'm a
a
little
very
twisted, so
funny story. Then this might have some fun for you. I don't know. um, is bro, my lifelong dream was to be a WWE superstar. Growing up, I knew about Impact Wrestling. I knew there was a company of the name of Ring of Honor that a lot of guys who are in WWE came from, but I didn't watch anything outside of what I saw. When Hogan and all those guys came into TNA, that's when I left watching that. But I was, watching Impact before then, giving them my time, especially the X division. Like,
oh yeah.
when,
Hmm.
Hogan and all those guys came in, it did push me away. And I got strictly back to my WWE stuff. But all my life was just WWE, WWE, WWE. I have a third grade teacher who found me on social media a couple years ago, who still has a lot of my notebooks. She keeps like all of her student stuff, like ever. Like she's still teaching to this day. Like God bless her. But she just sent me like pictures of my old third grade stuff where I'm writing like, oh, I like to watch
Oh
WWE
man.
SmackDown and Raw, and I like Rey Mysterio and John Cena and all these things. Like, so it was always my everything was just WWE. Coming up, everyone's like, oh, you're not big enough. You're not this. You're not that. So got my first match in October of 2016. In November of 2017, I was accepted to do the extra work for Elimination Chamber 2018, Raw the next night, and SmackDown the next night. So here I am, a year and 2 months specifically into wrestling matches, about 60 or 70 matches in, and I'm getting a tryout match before, in front of the SmackDown locker room in the Staples Center, in Kobe's building. So for me, like at that moment, I was like, man, I could technically say, did something here, because growing up, when I think of this building, I think of WrestleMania 21. I think of sitting on my couch watching Randy Orton lose to The Undertaker and crying about it. I think of Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. I think of Batista and John Cena becoming, these mega stars winning their first championship simultaneously. And here I am in the ring, SmackDown, the roster's ringside, and I was wrestling one of my best friends, who's a guy named Nino Black, who he trains here at Future Stars of Wrestling, and he was my very first match. He was my tag team partner. A year later, we got teamed together again, and we won the FSW Tag Team Championships, which were made by my friend Scott Lucky Hands. So like everything just always connects for me in these movies. And here we are at the Staples Center, and I'm wrestling Nino, in front of the SmackDown locker room. My best friend. I can't ask for it any better. But that weekend of extra work taught me that WWE wasn't what I thought it was. And not from a bad, not from a bad thing where I was just like, this place is terrible. It was just, I realized it wasn't for me at that moment. Here I am. And it was a great trip. Like, Elimination Chamber was cool to see that from a backstage perspective for the first time. And then on Raw, I ran into Kane backstage, who he and I met through a mutual friend a couple of weeks before I moved to Vegas. A customer at the job I worked at, who was a longtime wrestling fan, who works on Kane's, like his liberal work with him. So I remember when he found out that I was also a wrestling fan, and not only that, but that I was about to move to pursue wrestling, we would have these conversations every day when he would come in about wrestling. And one day the store was empty, maybe about 2 weeks before my last day, before I moved, and he was on the phone with Kane. And he asked him to talk to me. So I remember the first advice I was given was from Kane. And,
That's awesome.
So when I saw him backstage, I just approached him and I told him the story. And he was like, "Oh, hey," like, because only a year and a half later from this conversation, so he's just like, "Oh yeah, hey, look, like you're here, like you made it." So there's a picture on the internet that I tweet out every now and then of me and Kane, because he did see me later in the hallway and he asked me, he was like, "Hey, did you tell Jack that you saw me?" And I was like, "Nah, I didn't." And he was like, "Hey," he like pulls out his phone and takes a selfie with me and sends it to Jack. And so my buddy Jack like texts me like 10 minutes later, like freaking out. He's like, "I didn't know you were at WWE right now." And not only that, like, you met Glenn, like, wow, like this is crazy. But like, so here I am a year in, I get this great opportunity. And at this point, it was just like, okay, well, I remember coming home and thinking, well, what now? Since I was 3, all I wanted to be was a WWE superstar. And now I realize I don't. What now? Indie wrestling's cool. I didn't know all these indie companies existed. I didn't know this, so this stuff is cool, but what now? How do you go forward if you don't have dreams? How do you go forward if you have nothing you're working towards? So I remember like I had already committed to maybe half a year's worth of dates on the indies for 2018. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do these because I committed. And probably when this year is up, I'll quit wrestling and I'll figure out something else with my life, because I don't have, like, that's not my dream. So it was very hard. It crushed me. And for a long time, it was hard for me to find a purpose. But the easy part was that every day or every opportunity that I still had to work these shows, because at the time I was catching a wave. And this is 2018, I was calling it 2018. And I started to catch this wave. Like, January comes and I win my first singles championship. And then February comes and I think I had like a series of cool matches that month. And then March came and I was on like our anniversary show that year. Maybe that was later on. And March came and then I wrestled Willie Mack for the first time. And that was like a really cool match. And I also did a triple threat that month against Kenny King and Scorpio Sky. And they were both champions at Ring of Honor at the time. And then April came in. I wrestled Austin Theory. And in the main event, I cashed in a briefcase on Killer Cross after he faced Keith Lee and JT Dunn. And I won my first heavyweight championship. And then the next month came and I was wrestling ACH and then Adam Brooks the next night. And then a couple months later, I was wrestling Swerve. And then I was wrestling Brody King, and then next thing you know, I'm standing across the ring from John Morrison and Brian Cage. John Morrison being one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, someone who I went to an autograph signing to meet when I was like 8, and now And a year before this, I was working security for the show when he came to Vegas to wrestle Killer Cross. And I remember telling him how we met when I was younger and asking him if we could take another picture together. And then telling him how I hope one day we could be in the ring together. A year later in that building now, I show up supposed to be in a scramble match. I show up and Joe DeFalco's like, yeah, Callahan's plane didn't make it. So you want to be in the tournament? I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, all right, you're going to be in the first round against Scorpio Sky. So I'm like, at this point, I had wrestled Sky like 4 times. So I'm like, oh, sweet. We've done this in LA like so many times now. The Vegas fans get to see it. He's like, yeah. And then you're in the main with Cage and Morrison. And I was like, bet. Like in my mind, I was like, oh, okay, well. But then the way I always assess stuff, I'm just like, okay, got to get through the first thing first. So let's get through this match with Sky. And then I'll start thinking about that so I don't psych myself out. But all these things are happening and the year's going through and I'm just like, man. And then the end of the year comes and it was December and Raw and SmackDown are coming back to the area again and I do the extra work for the second time. And I do Raw, whatever. SmackDown, we're going to get tryout matches again. They need someone to face Shane McMahon and The Miz. We don't have time for tryout matches. They have us all lined up. Michael Hayes, there's a guy who was there, and I knew he was going to get picked because of his size. And this is when it was proved to me because I told them the day before, I was like, if they do anything, they're going to pick you because of your stature, for sure. And the next day, I remember them all lining us up and Michael Hayes going, him without question. And I remember thinking, okay, I knew that guy was going to get picked. And then looks around, looks right at the guy next to me and him. And I just remember at that moment thinking okay, because I had just did the month before that I had wrestled for Impact. The Rascals were making their debut. So, I got to, make the Rascals, help put over the Rascals. And then maybe that was the end. So around April, I forgot, around that time of April, or did that come the next year? Oh, no, that came in a couple months after. It's okay. Yeah, so that happened. Impact already happened. So at this point, I was just sitting there and I'm like, wow, okay, I'm wearing brand new gear here. Didn't even get to do this tryout match. Fuck this, for sure. I just remember thinking and I remember looking at my friend okay, well, I know what I'm doing now. I can't give this place any more of my energy because it already crushed my dream or made me realize that my dream isn't what it is. And here I am now. I don't fit the part. And that's the thing about a lot of the stuff is that you fit the part. But the reality of this business also is if you bust your ass and you work hard and you're good at what you do, you are the part.
Mm-hmm. You
That's
create
how
the
I felt
part.
about myself.
Mm-hmm.
You create the part. And that's how I felt about myself at this point. So I was like, you know what? Bet. I'm going to just go hard this next year. I'm going to go super hard. I'm going to get signed somewhere because that's just what's next. And I remember that night after SmackDown, hanging out all night with Kofi and Xavier and Willie Mack and Martin Casaus. And I remember we're all hanging out and having a good time. And I remember looking around and being like, man, we got WWE Tag Team Champions. At the time, Willie Mack was the NWA National Champion and Martin Casaus, the last Lucha Underground Champion. I'm like, man, I'm around people from everywhere all the time. What constitutes making it or not making it? At what point do I realize that these are the things that matter right here?
Mm-hmm.
All the right people, have the right friends, and I'm having fun right now with what I'm doing. And then 2019 happened, and 2019 started, and I started 2019 with some more banger matches, and then wrestling on Ring of Honor for the first time, and then which was cool because 2 years before that, my first weekend at training at FSW, Ring of Honor came to town, and here I was working security. There's a picture of me working security and ringside picking up the streamers and stuff with Damian Drake. And then fast forward, and me and Damian Drake are wrestling each other on Future of Honor in the same building. And it's just, once again, at this point is where I started to realize, okay, what really excites me is creating these type of stories that are coming full circle.
Yep.
And having my own things like this, these little things that just make that worth the while. So then the next month comes and I'm wrestling John Morrison and Teddy Hart in a triple threat match. And then I'm like, okay, cool. And then the next month is Double or Nothing weekend. And then I went to my first Mania weekend, but I wasn't booked for anything, and I just went to like have fun finally and be around it in New York. And I was just like, okay, sweet. Like, and I had a great time out there. And then the next month, Double or Nothing weekend comes to Vegas, and it's just lit. And I'm wrestling Luchasaurus, I'm wrestling Adam Brooks, I'm wrestling Matt Cross in a suburban fight, like bar fight. Like, I'm just wrestling like the best people, and I'm just like, this is sweet right now. Like, and then we win the United World Tag Team Championships, and I'm like, from Hollywood. So I'm like, now I won my first world championship. Like, these have been defended in different countries. Like, this is super cool. Like, this is all getting really cool, really cool, really cool. And then September comes, August comes, and at this point I've been hammered in the gym because I realized that I let my body go since I've been out here with all the anxiety and stress of failure. I just hadn't been working out, hadn't been training. So I'd been back down 10, 20 pounds from when I got here. And I wasn't proud of my physique. And I was tired of looking at pictures of me versus John Morrison or versus Brody King or Hammerstone, all these people, and just not wanting to share the post because of how tiny and scrawny I look. So it's like, man, it's time to start looking like an adult. So like, I remember like bulking up hard that summer of 2019, like putting on like 20 pounds. And then I knew WWE was coming in October. So I was just like, all right, well, that's cool, whatever. I'm not going to apply for extra work this time. I was like, I hope someone else is running. And I found a company, West Coast Pro, they were going to run that day in San Francisco, and they hit me up. So I was like, bet, you're right. I will take it, because anything to make sure I'm not here in Vegas when SmackDown comes, because I don't even want to be here, like, honestly. So September comes, and Ring of Honor and Impact are coming to Vegas. And I had just finished in August doing Impact stuff with Unbreakable and a couple other specials in California. So now they're coming to Vegas the next month, and we do the X Division match for the X Division title against Jake Christ, and then I do the match with Daga, and then Ring of Honor comes, and I walk Shane Taylor out with the Ring of Honor television title, and then I wrestle with Slice Boogie against the Bouncers, and then I get an email from WWE that I'm invited to SmackDown, and I remember sitting there looking at it and being like, it's exactly what I didn't want. But then I remember sitting there, because they hadn't booked my flight for the San Francisco show yet. So I remember sitting there and being like, what if, because these things were pre-taped for, what if I could get a match on 205 Live?
Yep.
And have the Impact match and have the Ring of Honor stuff all airing simultaneously. And I was like, well, that's something to work towards, because once again, I like to set these things that sound impossible, because now it'll keep me excited while I'm trying to pursue this, you know? So I'm like, all right, I'll go. So I tell this company in San Francisco not to book the flight, that I got this other opportunity I got to tend to. And they're cool about it, because clearly they haven't had to spend any money yet. So as long as they didn't advertise me yet and all that good stuff, you know, there's no harm, no foul.
Right.
You know, save face as much as we can. So the day comes, and I walk into the building around 10:30, and around noon is when I see Scott Armstrong, and he and I had, you know, talked before, and the year before when they were in Vegas, we both rode the plane that was coming from Raw, wherever Raw was in San Diego, I think, to Vegas. We were all on the same flight, because it's such a small flight. We just all happened to be on there. So I remember we talked about that flight at one point. So here I am, noon, at the T-Mobile Arena, and Scott Armstrong, like, he flags me down. I'm thinking he just remembers me, and, you know, we're just about to catch up real quick. And he told me that there was an opportunity for 205 Live, and that I was recommended, and if I was interested for it. And of course I said yes. And the rest of the day consisted of me just trying to stay as neutral and calm as possible, because I've had so many times in this business where the story just changes, you know, or you just get pulled from an idea, or things just don't happen. So I was just trying to stay calm and stay cool and stay collected and not say anything, and just make sure that I don't hype myself up, just for it to get taken away from me. So all day, like other people who are also doing extra talent would come up to me like, yo, why you keep like stepping off to talk to people? Like, do you have something? Like, and I'm like, nah, I just know them from this, or like, I'm just like kayfabing it, trying to keep calm, trying to keep calm. And I remember like seeing people like Randy Orton and just like giving them like, yo, what's up, big dog? And man, like, I'm just like,
not trying to fanboy out too much, right?
Because I've been back here before, so I've met all these guys essentially before, but now I'm standing around in my gear too, and I'm just like, it's hitting different right now. Like,
yeah,
everything's like lining up different. And I remember even seeing Triple H, and like we, had a formal introduction, and I was just like, and when he walks away, I remember like looking at my other friends who were doing extra work, and they were looking, and I was like, it's fucking Triple H. It's fucking Triple H. Like you can't lie about. One thing you can't lie about, it's fucking Triple H.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the game. I mean,
that's the game. So like, my hands are tied here. So I got the confirmation that I do wrestling still as my regular name, which was more important to me than the match was, because Bey is my real last name, and more than my real last name, it's my dad's last name. So for me, once again, this is my moment for my story to come full circle.
Mm-hmm.
And time's getting closer, and the main event of SmackDown is Charlotte and Becky Lynch for the women's title. And I'm in the area where we're at, and I'm watching on the monitors. I'm stretching. I'm just watching the clock because I know I'm the second match on 205 Live. So I'm like approximately half an hour from now, probably, everything will be different. And I'm just in there, just quiet. And I'm getting texts from a couple of my friends who were just like, yo, they in Vegas tonight? I better see you. And I'm just like looking at my phone and like not acknowledging anything, just like in the zone. And then it gets closer, so I go to Gorilla, and I'm in Gorilla, and I walk in that room, and you've seen the room a million times at this point when people come to the curtain. I remember going in the room and looking around and being like, this is the room right here, and then seeing Triple H and Stephanie again, and shaking both of their hands and thanking them. And I remember just feeling my heartbeat, and it was at a normal rate. And I was like, and they were just like, yeah, once they come back through, the ref, he was like, yeah, once they come back through, you and I will go out dark. There'll be a promo on the screen. We'll come back live. And yeah, so here it is. Me and him walk out dark. I'm walking down the aisle, and I'm just like, and I hear someone on the left like, yo, it's Dashing Chris Bey. And then I hear like someone on the right of the aisle like, yo, it's Chris Bey. And then like, as I'm walking down the ramp and I like walk up the stairs and I'm hopping in the ring, like I can hear it starting to build more as people are like starting to like can see a little bit like who it is in the ring. And people are just like, yo, that's Chris Bey, yo, Bey. And I'm starting to hear it more. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like in the zone, in the complete zone. And like they're playing a promo of like Leo Rush. He had just won the Cruiserweight Championship. And I'm like, okay, know him. And then I remember like seeing the video, they play a next, it's like a package for Swerve because he was about to debut or whatever. And I was like, wrestled him. And then I like look at the referee, I'm like, cool with him. And I'm like, bro, like these are all people I know here. Like it's literally nothing new. Like this is a moment. Not only have I been wrestling now nonstop for 3 years at this point, but I was like, this is a moment that almost 3 years to the date too, like October 11th, and then my debut in wrestling was like October 31st or something like that. So like, it's all the same month, and here I am like standing here, and it's like, I know what I'm doing here. And not only that, take the WWE nostalgia and put it on top of it. I've imagined this moment since I was 3 years old. So you don't know, this may be the first time it's happening, but this has happened 72,853 times, according to my mind. So the lights come back on and more people are starting to notice, and like I'm looking out and I'm starting to see people I recognize, and I'm just like, yep. And once again, I feel my heartbeat as I'm in the middle of the ring. It's normal, and I'm like,
oh man,
it's go time now. It's just go time now. And then I remember going live, and then we did the match, and everything was just fun. And I remember getting to the back to Gorilla and just like, once again, thanking people for the opportunity. And where they had us at was very far from everyone else. So, and it was to the right. I went on a circle around the building because I wanted to go to catering first and get a water. So I remember walking to catering to get a water and like running into Baron Corbin, and he kind of like, I think he asked me like how to go, and I was
That's
like,
Chuck's favorite, by the way, too. He loves Baron Corbin.
hey, I'm not gonna lie, I like Baron Corbin. So listen, man, you got a problem with my guy Baron, you can solve that. But like I remember like walking and him like asking me like how to go, and like I was just like, it was cool, bro. Like, and I remember walking thinking like, well, he asked, and even before the match, like I remember running into Kofi, and it had been the first time I'd seen him since maybe like Wale Mania, and that's when we were talking about my blonde hair because, now he has blonde hair.
Yeah.
That,
You had blonde hair, and then Kofi gets blonde hair. There's a coincidence there.
what I'm saying? But that's the thing. A lot of people on the internet don't realize when they call me Kofi, like a Kofi wannabe, or like talk all this shit. I'm like, you guys do know, like, he and I know each other, like, just so you guys know, like, I know he's a former WWE champion, and I'm just like this little guy here, but we kind of know each other, but like, so all day I was just getting in my comfort zone, and yeah, like I remember getting my water and then walking back, and it was the longest walk of my life because once again, here we are, just left WWE universe, and I have my phone is in the locker room, so I'm just like, man, I already know, like, when I get back to my phone, the world's just going to be different for me now.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember walking into the extra talent room, and the first things first is just getting all that love from my peers, man. Like, that right there, that's top notch right there, man. People don't show respect like that all the time. A lot of time in this journey, people hate on you, and they don't want to see you succeed, or they want that spot, so it eats them up alive. So for me to walk in and for them to show me love like that, and let me know that I'm doing something right, because people don't have that sense of heart for me, and so I accepted that, and they asked me how it felt, and I was like, I'll never be able to give you words. You got to really go feel it. But I remember walking into the other room that I was in, stretching before I left, and here we are. There's this live screen, and I'm watching what's going on in the ring right now. I picked up my phone. I see my phone going crazy, so I put it on Do Not Disturb, and I go on the WWE Network, and I scroll back like 10 minutes, and I get that screenshot of myself, and I upload it to all my social medias, and I just put my phone down, and I just started bawling, man. Like, I just started crying so hard because for me, it was just like so many things that have happened to me over the last 3 years that people just, they don't know because they only see what they see. And that's how we all are as humans. We don't know what everybody's going through or what they're sacrificing or what's going on in their mind or how discouraged people are, A lot of people, I don't even think I've told that version of the story anywhere that I was going to quit in 2018. So, like a lot of people don't know anything. And for me, that was just like a lifetime of people telling me that I would never do it. And here I am now. I just did it. And not only did I do it, but I did it very successfully. If you ask me, like for a small role, I think I did more than enough. And, I let the dirt sheets speak for themselves and what they all said about my performance. I don't have to, rehash that stuff. But, like it is attributed to the fact that I was 100% comfortable. I'd been there and I know what this is, like I'm not new to this. I'm new there, not new to this, and even as new as I am there, I've been a part of that company. That company's been a part of my life since I was 3. So we can all make the jokes all we want, about people who are not in the business, not being a part of the business, but to an extent, if you've dedicated that so much time watching and supporting their product, there's something there. So for me, it was just like all of that stuff. Like now, I'm just seeing all the internet just going crazy about it. People that are saying stuff, my mom's calling me and she's like telling me, how proud she is of me and how proud my dad would have been of me. And then just thinking about hearing all those people chanting Bay, like in that environment, in that same building that I remember sitting at my job a month before I moved to Vegas, watching Money in the Bank on my phone, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns in that building, the first WWE show in the T-Mobile Arena, because they had just built the arena.
Just open it up, yeah.
Years later, that same power now. Now every time I ride past that building, it's never the same now. It's in my city. Now with the Raider Stadium right across the street, what happens if my best friend gets to play there, and I played right across the street? You know what I'm saying? Like, what happens then? But you asked for that story, and here we are, an hour and a half into that story. But that's that day for me. Like, I got home and I threw up, and that was that day for me.
It's just crazy that you were at a crossroads and you had made the decision that, yeah, I'm going to play out what I've said I'm going to do, and then at the end, I'm going to move on. But it's awesome to hear that, you had the drive to keep going. You're like, I'm going to keep doing it. So you had the drive, you had the passion, and then things just started to roll the right way for you. You got into this, you got into that, and your passion and everything just outright reached over everything that was your decision a year or so before that. Yeah. And you just kept pushing through it, which is awesome. I mean, for anybody that even thinks about going into wrestling, just hearing that story, I think if they have that passion that you had, it will hopefully like click for them.
Yeah.
And get them to the, to a point where, hopefully they would get to a point, where you're at, right now.
I believe so. You just got to find those goals and just work hard and keep working for a purpose, That has to be for something. It can't be for no reason. I think what helped me really just never stop was that I love this so much. And a lot of the times, as soon as I hit that curtain, like nothing else matters. Everything, I realized that there's one thing I'm really, really good at, and it's what I do inside the ring, what I do when the cameras are on and when the music hits. So like, it definitely helped me not be able to stop and find another purpose in the time being.
So you get that moment, and the amazing thing is, it's like fool me once, fool me twice. You just kept going after it. Like even though you kept telling yourself that I'm done with this, I'm not doing it anymore, you kept going after it. So you get that taste now, and you get that moment. And what happens after that? Do you get a call back? Do you just go on to your next steps? Because I know there's a lot of stuff that happens after that, but I'm interested in how you get there.
Yeah. Well, for me, what happened after that was like a huge snowball effect of different things and different varieties of things, because it was the next night that I wrestled at FSW. I did a title defense, and a couple days later, I want to say, was when I tweeted to Cody and got the infamous Cody gif of him responding to that. And so now, like, I'm covering all bases here. We did Ring of Honor, we did Impact, we did WWE, and here's the AEW call out. So like, and my goal of 2019 wasn't just to get signed. I knew all those companies were going to pass through. So my goal was honestly to work for all of those companies when they came to Vegas. And I missed AEW. I missed that one. It didn't happen for me. So now here was the call out there with the Cody thing. And then I think the day before the Cody thing was when I got the offer from Impact. And I, of course, had to think about it and sit on it, because I didn't want to jump too soon and make any irrational decisions. But I kind of knew as soon as I got that was the one that I was, leaning towards, just for the sake of the market right now and how I see my career planning out, So like, there was a couple conversations about, trying to possibly get something going with WWE. There were no conversations about AEW, because all that there was, and this is what people need to know, all that there was was what you saw on social media. So it wasn't, the perception of people when people think like, oh, Cody said he was interested in Chris Bey on a media call, and then the same day he debuts on Impact. Well, I had already been signed for 2 months at that point. That's what they don't know. It's just like, with all that stuff happening, I just was trying to ride the wave and take it all in day by day and still have fun. And I was having the most fun in the ring that I was, had up to that point in my career, and all eyes were on me. And I was just riding the wave. Like, people ask me, like, how does it feel to have guys like Cody mention me or wrestle for WWE and all these things? Well, it's cool as hell. Like, people will never get to experience this, but my bottom line is that's what I did. Like, WWE, that was 6 months ago, like, so I did 6-7 months ago. It's about what I'm doing right now, like, I can always keep going and keep doing more. So that's like how I stay so hungry and keep that ball rolling. I feel like every time you look up my name, there's something new that I'm getting into.
Yep.
And that's how I like it to be, because you're only as good as your last match. And what I don't want is for someone who hasn't seen me and heard about me to come to a show and be like, oh, he's not as good as they said he was. Like, I'm better. Because that was 6 months ago, I promise you, I'm better now. Like, that's my whole mentality with this stuff, man. Like, I remember waking up and seeing that Cody, that Cody had mentioned me on the media call, and I remember thinking in my mind, like, when are he and I gonna have this conversation so I can tell him this? Because, like, I didn't feel it was like my responsibility to reach out and tell him that I was, going elsewhere, because I felt like, if anything, he either already knew, or if he was really interested in, and if he was the one to make the decision or to make the first effort from their side of, like, showing interest, because I had already shown that I was open to the idea. So I just, from there, I didn't think it's up to me to reach out, like,
Yeah.
I just think that was my place, and not to say like I'm above that, but as far as is how it works, I feel like that would be stepping over, a boundary.
You don't want to step over boundaries. Yeah, exactly.
So there was just nothing ever discussed there until that media call where he and I finally spoke, and I told him that I signed elsewhere. So he knew before they even, dropped the news. He knew. But yeah, like, I can't thank him enough, because just by the name drops, and he brought eyes to me that weren't on me before. Yep. So I can't thank him enough for that. Honestly, like, dashing Chris Bey, dashing Cody Rhodes, it's not a coincidence here. It's not a coincidence that I was 14 at the time when that was all happening, and that I, was enthralled at the product I was seeing, and I wanted to also be dashing. It's not a coincidence, So to just fast forward and have the roles reversed and have him stamping me as that, it's sweet, but like, what's next? What's next is Chris Bey winning the X Division Championship at Impact Wrestling. That's what's next. That's what we're going to be talking about next.
And yeah, that was big. I mean, that's kind of where your path is going now. We've been watching Impact and seeing you're just getting yourself into these situations where you're getting closer and closer to that X Division Championship, where you even had a shot.
Did you say finessing?
I'm sorry, finessing.
Oh, yeah, okay, just had to make sure.
Apologize. Finesse.
Had to make sure.
So those are working out, and now you're kind of moving your way through Impact, and you're kind of building your style on national television now, right? You're getting your style out there, and now there's the comparisons, and I want to touch on that real quick. So and I know I'm not going to say any comparisons. I want you to tell the people, who do they want? Who does Chris Bey wrestle like, other than Chris Bey? Like, who do they want to see your style modeled after? Because I don't want people to tell you how you wrestle. I want them to see what you have inside you, because I can see the pain in what I'm telling you right now, my comparisons.
What I want people to see, and what I want people to take away from what I do, is just doing what you want to do.
Awesome.
I don't even watch wrestling, so for people to tell me that I copy people, or that, what I'm saying, like, it's not that it's an insult, but it's just like, I just wonder what people are seeing, because when I see me and I see other people, I never see the same thing, and I never see resemblance, because though they're them and I am me. I tweeted something out similar about it the other day, just about how no one will ever be able to be Chris Bey other than Chris Bey, and I will never be able to be anyone else. That's just what this is. That's the reason why I, would have felt so out of my element wrestling on 205 Live as some other name, because I only know how to be Chris Bey. It's the reason why the first year of my career was rough, because if you never heard the story, Chris Strong, I don't know if you ever heard of that guy, but he had people used to tell that guy that he was gonna be something for sure. But Chris Bey, that's the guy that became something and is becoming something. Chris Strong was very confused trying to figure out what this persona of Chris Strong was supposed to portray. Chris Bey knows exactly what's going on. And like when it comes to comparison sakes, like the Kofi thing, we're both black with dreads. Cool. We both talk and are excited, like cool.
We both breathe.
We both breathe, we both every now and then dance. Okay, well, who else danced throughout time? Too Cold Scorpio danced. Let's talk about black people, because that's clearly what people really want to say, right? Too Cold Scorpio danced. Crime Time had a dance. Everybody's had a dance. You know what I'm saying? Booker T has the spinneroonie, essentially a dance. Break dancing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just like a lot of things that I'm just like, and then like the swerve thing. It's once again, like I don't get mad because these Kofi, Swerve, Booker T, R-Truth, whoever, you know what I'm saying? Like, all people that I have huge amounts of respect for. True. And I will always give them their credits for, coming before me and making it possible for a dude like me, for sure. But I'm not watching any of these guys, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm watching martial arts movies. I'm watching my own stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in the ring multiple times a week, even with COVID right now. I'm in the ring, like literally trying random stuff and seeing what physically works, because most of the things that I do, like swag surf, moves like that, these are moves that I've seen in my dreams, and I woke up and was like, wrote it down, and then went to the school and tried it, and the physics weren't there, so I had to make things work, because in dreams there are no physics. So like, but then when you get in real life, you're like, oh, our bones don't bend that way. Like, not possible. But that's like how my style comes about. Like, I literally create stuff, just in creating it. You're gonna see with the stuff that you're gonna be seeing on Impact, a lot of stuff that I be creating in the moments. Like, I literally just be like, and when I say create, I'm not saying I'm the inventor, but I'm not watching people like, I'm gonna do this. I'm literally reacting off of what is around me and doing what I would do. You know what I'm saying? And like, so and that's what I want people to take away, because my first year I was learning how to wrestle as a wrestler, and that just wasn't for me. I needed to learn how to wrestle like Chris Bey and figure out what Chris Bey would do and how Chris Bey would work. And I learned, and that's when it started to catch on that what Chris Bey does is finesse, and that's the whole story. So that's the way I see it right there. So, and now it's the same, and I realize that it's just a never-ending circle. It's not even out of disrespect, because like I said, I know those guys. Like, so it's not like, you know what I'm saying, we got heat or anything like that, or that, that I'm just like whatever. And I have people tag me and stuff now, younger generation. They're saying like, oh, this is like a wannabe Chris Bey, or this is a this, or this is a, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, and I see it. I'll be watching it and I'll be like, no, it's not. This person is clearly them. Like, but whatever. Like, I just realized that's how the game gonna go. And then the next people are gonna get it off of me with the other people's names and whatever. Now I'm seeing I wear AJ Styles gear or Ricochet gear. I'm like, my G.
Oh,
you actually must know all my red and black gear currently was inspired by Edge's 2006 years. If y'all really must know.
Yeah.
It's just the versions of mine. So
if you're gonna make the comparison, at least make the right comparison.
At least make the right comparison. So that was the thing. So, but other than that, like, it'll never stop. Like, that's just something that will happen as long as the game goes, because as humans, I don't know, we feel the need to compare people.
Mm-hmm. definitely. So we've talked a lot about wrestling. So
He's a wrestler.
I know, but you know, we know that you have some other interests outside of wrestling. Some of them are music. I think I heard or read somewhere that there was some skateboarding. You like horror movies.
Yeah, I love it.
So, in the craziness of COVID-19, what has Chris Bey, been doing with those other interests that he has in life?
So I have been watching horror movies. I have been designing new gear based off of horror movies and sneakers and stuff
Cool.
that I'm interested
Nice.
in. Music, I've been writing, like I've been going crazy about it on Twitter the last 2 days, so I'm gonna have to talk about it. I wrote 2 songs the last week that I'm very excited about. And it'll be like that sometimes in my life where I'll write something and it'll take me a while, or I'll write something in 5 minutes and it'll just be the greatest thing I think I've ever done. And this was one of those things where I didn't write in 5 minutes, but over the course of the last 5 or 6 days, there's 2 songs now that I'm so thrilled about that they're skipping the line. So there will be a 2-song project maybe out next month if I can get to the studio and get this done.
Awesome.
A 2-song
Nice.
project called Odyssey that with 2 songs consisting of a song called Feedback and another song called Lonely. But music has always been something that's been a part of my life since I was very young. My grandfather was a singer and entertainer. My brothers make music, and I first started releasing music. I made my first mixtape when I was 6, but I started releasing music when I was 14. So like from 14 till age 20 when I moved here, I was releasing I released like 9 or 10
Oh,
mixtapes.
wow.
Yeah, so that people just don't even know about. But that music has always been a part of me. I just put it on the back for the sake of this. And then it was even like that thing. I remember it was a couple times people were like, "Oh, you're copying Leo Rush doing music." Like I remember when I first got that, and I was just like,
It's like I'm glad that you've been next to me my whole life and saw me copy Leo Rush when I've been doing this on my own
since
I was a little kid.
I'm like, you can literally look up stuff that is on YouTube, music that is from 10 years ago, but you gonna tell me I'm copying somebody? Okay, but so the music has been a good pastime for me during this COVID. Trying to stay in shape, what I really has been focusing on day by day is my happiness. That's just
Very
something,
important.
it gets very lost, and for me, I was able to not see where it gets lost as much because I was on the road 4 or 5 days a week the last couple of months, and how every weekend the last 3 years. So now that I'm home more than usual, more than I have been since before I started training to become a wrestler, I don't have that shield of me hitting the curtain and getting my immediate happiness, fix it, or riding the wave of all these people tweeting me after the show about how much they enjoyed the show. Now, it's people talking about what happened months ago where I log on and it's, people are dying or people are having, it's sad right now, it's just the reality of the world we live in. And so for me, I'm just trying to be happy and not see all that and get too far into that, because it's just a wormhole that we don't need to be in, no matter what the reality is of what's happening. The reality also is we're still here. So what we do does count, no matter who we're losing to this fight, personal to us or not personal to us. We're still here and we're still fighting. So we have to approach this with that type of mindset every day. We can't let something like this, as drastic as it is, beat us.
Agreed.
Because if we lose, we lose, and we only lose when we stop trying. So we just got to keep trying. Just got to keep trying, like I'm just trying to use this time to be happy and be healthy and make sure my family's okay, and hopefully entertain the world with the product we're putting out on Tuesday nights on Access and on Twitch and on the Impact Plus app, because I had to plug it.
Of course. Hey,
We're here to plug. I mean, we have nothing to plug, but we often plug
mm,
things all the time.
yes.
Yeah, no, impact. That's where it's at. Tuesday.
Impact's where it's at.
That's where it's at.
So
Our
you're
match, all
so
that.
you're building that product on Impact and building that finesse. What are we gonna see from the finesse and those lessons of finesse? I keep seeing them from week to week, and I'm learning. I'm learning how to play the game of finesse every week. I'm trying to play it every day in my regular life, but it doesn't quite fit as much. So
It will soon. It will. You probably got the lessons mixed up. You probably
I yeah,
probably use it
3 and 5. I
yeah, you gotta once you get those right, you'll be good. But the art of finesse is very simple. It's a very simple concept, and once you understand that you'll never stop learning lessons in the art of finesse, and once that is when you'll realize just to strap in your seatbelt and make sure you are looking out the window and enjoying the view, because there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot. There's been what? Okay, we had 5 matches now.
mhm.
Let's count the tape. The first match, what was the lesson in that match, right? That when the ultimate finesser shows up, people are watching, right? It's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, the scramble match. We had all those people in the ring. If you ain't first, you're last. That's what I took out of lesson number 2, because who won that match? Who came in first? Willie Mack. What did that make him? Number 1 contender. Where is he now? Holding my championship. So clearly I was in last, even though I wasn't first. I didn't lose. I didn't get pinned, but I damn sure didn't win. And I don't have what I'm supposed to have right now. What happened in match 3? We went to Atlanta. Me and Daga met. And people said I stole a victory. Nah, man. That lesson was that placement is key. We got the 1, we got the 2, and there just happened to be a rope in front of me, so I could secure a 3. Who cares? The ref didn't see it. Placement is everything. That's fine, because what happens after that, people said you stole a victory. So then we went to Rebellion and faced 3 people in the X division that people are always hype on. Oh my God, it's Trey Miguel. He's one of the best. He is. That's cool. Oh, it's Rohit. Oh, Rohit from the Desi Hit Squad. Yeah, you're right. Oh, it's Suicide. Oh my God, it's the TNA original here, former X Division champion. That's cool. At the end of the day, what was the lesson? The lesson was that timing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
It took for Trey to take out Suicide, Rohit to then take out Trey, but Rohit to then think that he was just so cool and he was the man, like Rohit thinks, and he got the 1, 2, 3. But no, what did he see? He saw his final finesse. Before he knew it, he was on his back. 1, 2, 3. Because this is now the Chris Bey show. So then we fast forward to match 5. And we get this triple threat match where I come in, I call the shots, and I get my first main event. We go from Rebellion to the main event, the next show. What was the lesson again? I think we almost got a repeat of one of the first lessons that we learned. If you're not first, you're last. I think we learned a very valuable lesson in that match, though. And that was just the right thing happened, but the wrong thing happened at the same time. Because Ace Austin didn't win, so that's great. The right thing happened, but Chris Bey didn't win either. So the wrong thing happened that night. And Chris Bey had to get stitched up because of casualties. So now I'm a little angry. So now we're going to go to the next lesson in the art of finesse. And I know you want to know what that is. The world wants to know what that is. So I tell them that the lesson that we're going to talk about is going to be, I mean, I could tell you, or you could just tune in on Tuesday nights on Access
There it
TV.
was.
Yes.
I knew that was coming.
Perfect.
And we can resume with the art of finesse. But as you see, every story has a lesson to be learned. Every story has a lesson to be learned. And we never stop learning. Even the ultimate finesser himself can get finesse from time to time. It's okay, because you can't be a finesser without getting finessed. You can't be. Remember that. Write it in your cereal. If you have the little cereal with the letters, spell it out in the cereal.
That's all. And like all 5 of those matches have been awesome matches. I mean, and every week you just see getting better, and just going to the next level. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Tuesday.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So we're getting down to the end here. We're not going to keep you for the whole night. A couple of quick questions, and then one dire question that we have that we've been talking about on our podcast here and there. So a couple of quick ones. What's your favorite city to wrestle in?
LA. Yeah. It's like, it don't hit the same as LA. Like bar wrestling, Maverick, PCW, Rival Pro, everything that's LA, I'm a huge advocate for.
Nice. In the time of coming up, who's been your favorite match or favorite opponent?
This is always the toughest question for me, like, because I've had so many matches that have meant different things and for different reasons, like, so I can never ever narrow it down, but there's always like a top list that I always talk about. It's always like Jake Atlas. I love wrestling Jake Atlas. It's one of my favorites. He and I have, or he specifically for me, I'll let him tell you how he feels about me, but I won't. For me at least, he's been a huge source of inspiration and push for me over the last couple of years. Just watching him do what he did in California while I was doing what I did in Vegas, and then when we would meet in the middle, I feel like we always brought out the best in each other, down to where we are today. Him fighting for the Cruiserweight Championship and me fighting for the X Division Championship. We have always brought out the best in each other, and we even texted about it the other day where I was just like, bro, you better win that title. No, I can win this title so we can have this, like it's important. So Jake Atlas, I was talking about Jake Atlas, Hammerstone, and I had my favorite match to date, my most recent favorite match, I'd say, which was at Without a Cause in Washington, Everett, Washington. This was October 2019, I want to say. And that match is just well worth the watch. If you have IWTV, it's worth going to see. And Scorpio Sky is another guy who, like, the first time I wrestled him, it was my last match of 2017. And then we wrestled again at the beginning of 2018. And then we had the triple threat that I told you about. And then we had the match at the Mecca that later September. Like, crazy matches. And then Luchasaurus, like, something about whenever me and him wrestle each other, like, it's just there. It's just locked in, like that list right there, man. Like, I can't really think of anybody. And then of course wrestling your hero, John Morrison, I know everything he does, even the new stuff that you think I don't know. I know it because it's like I've known him for longer than he thinks I've known him. That's the reality of it.
You've been scouting him for quite a while.
Yeah, we've been friends for 2, maybe 3 years now, but I've known him for around 16 years, so like 18. I've been watching him since Tough Enough, so like
Oh man.
So to me, I'm like,
on Tough Enough. Yeah.
I know you.
So, wrestling brands aside, there's no wrestling brand. It's just one big wrestling community. Who is Chris Bey's dream match against?
Wow.
You have your pick of anybody.
Are they active though? Is that's the key?
Let's keep it active. Let's keep it active.
Well, because he's back now, and it's possible, because it was not possible when I got in this, and it's possible to an extent now. Edge.
Nice.
I love Edge, and when he retired, it was something that made me almost not want to pursue wrestling when that time happened. And those next couple of years from that until I was 18 and I was still set on wrestling. It was hard for me to stay attached to the product. I was still watching, but I wasn't like glued to it like I once was. It'd be me on the computer with it on the screen and me doing one of those whenever, something would catch my eye type deals. But
I think we've all been there.
yeah, we all get to that point. But Edge was like the last. That was like when I started to realize that as you grow up, you just see the reality of a lot of things, or what you think they're going to be, or how what you think is going to be possible. But Edge is the guy.
Nice. And a couple of us from the podcast were at the Rumble down in Houston in January, and man, the pop of that stadium.
Getting goosebumps again now.
We couldn't see him coming out or anything.
Not at all.
But just the music hit, and I mean, it was like, and we all thought it might happen, but we all thought, nah, it's not going to happen. There's no way. That's too much chatter going on
Played us all
in Twitter world and wherever you're looking. It's not going to happen. And then it happened, and it was just like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. I wrestled that weekend. I think like Wednesday to Saturday I was wrestling, and Sunday I was just at a show in California, and I was about to drive back to Vegas. And on the ride back to Vegas, I was watching on my phone, and I remember getting texts during the show where people were just like, "Are you watching? Are you watching? You better make sure you're watching." Like, so I'm just like, "Bruh, I'm watching. Like, leave me. I'm watching." Well, you can't pop me no more. So I'm just like, bruh, I'm watching, And then like hearing the music hit, for me, it was a fear because I didn't, his 24 documentary didn't drop yet. So I wasn't comfortable with the idea. Now I'm comfortable with how much better his health is, and how much better shape he's in. So for me, like when people were like, "Oh, he's going to come back," I was like, "Bro, don't come back. Like, don't. Like, I would rather see you alive and healthy than see you 9 years out of shape, hurt yourself." You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So I remember from just watching in the car, headphones in, and hearing the music. You were there. I'm watching on the network, and just seeing his eyes when he came through, man. Like, I broke down. I'm not gonna lie, I broke down. Like it was just like it just showed me how crazy of a world we have. Where when he left, I was a freshman in high school, and when he came back, I'm also a professional wrestler. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have friends in the match with him who are getting to wrestle with him, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but this is just the world we live in. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Okay, last question, and this is one of the most important ones, and the question is,
I'll be the judge of that.
The question is, Oreos, double stuffed or single stuffed?
Might make a few enemies with this one.
Uh-oh.
But I'm an original single stuffed guy.
No!
Oh!
I'm going to tell you why.
All right.
Because it's a balanced ratio. You think it's not, right? Because you're like, okay, but there's only one of the cream, but there's two. No, that's a balanced ratio. Why? Because it's a sandwich, right? I'm saying, and sometimes you double up the patty on the sandwich. Do you not? You do. But usually there's like what? Some cheese in there. There's something else to make it. There's never just two patties in the bread, because then your heart's gonna explode. You need something else in between that. We all know this. So for me, like a double stuffed Oreo is just like a whole lot of cream
and not enough cookie.
Yeah, that's how I see it. Because you can never pull it off with one on each side. Or I can't. I ain't found the finesse. But whenever there's the cookie and there's the two stuffs of Oreo with the cookie.
Yeah,
it's never a perfect. If they maybe came in half perfectly, we'd be talking differently. But instead, they crumbling, and now I got to just throw them in my milk and act like this was the plan all along. That's not what this is about.
Oh man! Well, our fellow podcaster who's not here tonight, Big Baby Jimmy, he will be happy to know that you voted
We
for the
are
single stuff.
never going to hear the end of this now. Do you realize that?
No.
Hey,
See,
dude.
and my reason is I'm a fat man. I like the double stuff because I am double stuff.
Man, hey, I dig it. I dig it. You know what I'm saying? Like I told you, I ain't one to judge now. I want to just let you know. If I'm coming over, I need the single stuff, man. I need the single. We can get 2 packs. We can get the double. We can get the single. Hell,
All right.
go crazy, get the triple. I don't care.
No,
The mega stuff.
No,
Oh,
no,
so we're not
no
with the
mega
mega
stuff. That's too much.
Yeah,
That's
I like
over
one,
the
not
edge.
the other.
My kiddo loves the mega stuff. She's always like, "Can you get me the mega stuff Oreos?"
That's too much.
Oh,
That's
it's so
over the
much.
top. That's too much.
So much.
I agree.
You guys
Well,
are sponsored by Oreos. Now I want to go buy Oreos.
I know, right? We should.
That's
be.
another one of our plugs. Yeah, we just
Yeah.
again not sponsored by Oreo whatsoever. Nabisco, nothing. No, my father works for them, but no, not sponsored by them whatsoever.
We gotta change that.
Yeah, we got to work on
Mm.
that.
Well,
But Chris,
Chris,
man, whoa,
thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
what turned into a 20 or 30-minute conversation was just an hour and a half of great content. We appreciate it.
Awesome stories,
Great stories.
awesome background, and everything.
We wish the best for you. You are, I think, the epitome of don't give up. You know, keep pushing it. Don't give up. Don't take no for an answer, and continue to push yourself forward because you only know how far you can go. And we just appreciate what you're doing out there. Everybody needs to catch you on Tuesday nights on Impact, Access, or Twitch. I got it right?
Mhm.
Yeah, Impact Plus app, Access TV,
There
8
you go.
p.m. Eastern time, or Twitch. Yes, we air the shows live on Twitch as they air on television. So if you don't have access, if you don't have the Impact Plus app, you have access to the internet to tell me that you don't have it. So follow the Twitch link and watch the shows because there's no reason for you not. I mean, we have some of the best tag teams over there. You know, we got the Rascals, we got the Deaners, we got the what do they call themselves? The Kuyas, you know, the which is TJP and Falaba. You know, we have Triple XL with AC Romero and Larry.
Mhm.
Those guys.
Yeah.
That Captain Chuckles'
AC
favorites.
Romero, man, whew, he's a big boy.
A huge boy. You know what I'm saying? He did that dive in that scramble match I was in, and that's why I never got back up. If you want to know, that's why Willie finessed it. Is because I had AC to dive on me on the outside of the ring. So you know, it is what it is. But we got him. You know, we got my favorite, the North. You know, tag team champions.
Yes.
If you watched Impact, you see we got Kimberly. We have Kiera Hogan. Jordan Grace, like Ty about, come on, you know what I'm saying? Like Tennille, I could put over everybody, you know, Willie Mack himself, Rich Swann when he'll be recovered, you know, Ace Austin, as much as I hate the guy, as much as he's a pain in the side, you know, he's a talented guy. And I give credit where credit is due. He did his thing with the Triple X division, but it's time for the Finesse division. So
There you go.
you should just tune in and see what's about to happen because it ain't going to be like anything you've seen before.
Well, we
Nice.
can't wait. We're definitely going to be tuned in. Do you want to put a thing out there for Odyssey also coming out soon, possibly?
Yeah. So Odyssey will be dropping hopefully next month. Just stay tuned to my social media for that plug. And after that, the official EP of Dark Dreams and Shiny Things, which is the EP that the 2 songs that I've already released, Brain Freeze, featuring my brother Jay Owens, and Chains Made Me Free, featuring Dre Versetti. Both of those songs are off of the project Dark Dreams and Shiny Things, which is basically the reality of the last 3 years of my life, moving here, my love life, the sacrifices, the relationships, the road. It's the compare and contrast. People see the shiny things, they see the chains, they see the championships, they don't see the darkness that's behind it. They don't see the failures, they don't see the disbelief at times. There's a lot that they will understand. Hopefully people will feel. And so far from people, the feedback I've got from Brain Freeze and Chains, people feel it. And that's my main goal, is that people feel this stuff because it is just me and one of my rawest forms. So I'm excited for people to hear it, and I just hope people appreciate it. So stay tuned for those 2 projects, which will be out soon on all platforms. And when I say all platforms, I mean Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, YouTube, whatever you're on, Amazon. What is it?
Music.
Amazon, whatever.
Music.
Amazon Music, I think.
Yeah.
It's on all that stuff. So whatever you have, it's there. I just am excited for what we got coming in the future. Music lasts forever, so I'm trying to make a lot of timeless material, so to give people something that they can take with them forever. And that's the goal with my wrestling as well. I want to be remembered for the stuff I'm doing in the ring and what I'm giving to the business right now. So I appreciate anybody who is giving me their time in the first place. And follow me at Chris Bey on Twitter, Instagram, BEY, not BAE for the single ladies who may be for the people who have followed me and supported me on Pro Wrestling Tees or wherever you have paid your money to see Chris Bey or spent your time to watch Chris Bey. I just appreciate you, and I am grateful, and I hope that you enjoy what you see. That's me. That's just who it is. That's who I am. That's how I feel. This is what I do. This is my passion. This is my life. I give it everything. I've given it my teeth. As you've seen from this episode of Impact, I give it everything, facial, my lip, whatever. You know what I'm saying? This business has won it. I will do it because this is my life. And thank you for letting me live it. The kid who 10 years ago was on YouTube unboxing the Impact World Championship is the kid that 10 years later will be the next X Division champion. So if anything, follow your heart, follow your dreams, and be true to yourself. And don't let the fears of this world and the pressure of people around you take you away from what you really want.
Thanks, Chris.
Well said. Thank you so
well
much.
said. We really appreciate you. And anybody who's listening, he just named so many things to go support. Get out there,
Yes.
go support it.
Yeah.
Go support local wrestling, go support independent wrestling, go support these guys that are busting their butt to give us content and to give us something to smile about during these tough times.
Yeah.
So really appreciate you. Dashing Chris Bey, the ultimate finesser. We'll talk to you soon. Hopefully we're going to keep an eye on you. Got 2 big fans right here. So
Yep.
thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to sign off now. I don't think we're going to have it's going to be tough to top this one. You have set the
agree.
bar, my friend. You have set the bar.
2-hour interview. It's gonna be tough to watch this one.
This is gonna be rough, but luckily, all of our fans, all like 6 of them, are dedicated, so they are in.
4 more than me.
Yeah. So
He is my burner account and then my mom's account. So as long as you got more than me,
maybe I should talk to my mom about that. That's a good idea.
Hey, get on it.
I'm on it. So thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon.